As business owners, entrepreneurs, family men, it's difficult for us to find the time to put together projects like these. Even though it's something we really want to do, unfortunately, taking care of the things we have to take care of comes first. However, because of viewer support for people like you, we're able to continue doing this. Please consider joining our Patreon and supporting the Burn and Return podcast. You're listening to Burn and Return, a weekly 1-hour podcast covering news from the agricultural and turfgrass industries. With the DJ Scratch. You know what that means. Welcome to another episode of Burn and Return. How the hell is everybody doing? My name is Matt. Sometimes I go by the Grass Factor. And alongside me, we have Ray and Ryan. Gentlemen, we are 2 days away from election pandemonium. I'm going to bring up a little election insight on how this will impact us in our industry. And this will be a very non-partisan approach, and so I think that'll at least be something for people to keep in mind when they visit the polling stations. And outside of that, are y'all ready for the fucking extreme garbage ass takes and ads and pandemonium and chaos and cutthroat dickhead attitudes of everyone to just be done?
Well, I'll tell you what I feel like, guys. I feel like I'm 13 years old again, and I only have one porno to watch because that's all I've got. And I've got to reluctantly finish this porno no matter how bad it is.
I'm gonna make it to the end. I gotta see how it's gonna finish. It might be different this time. It might be different this time.
About to come.
Saying.
Lock the smell. Let you know a little insight on how that one ends. I don't know.
The prolapse nurse.
Yeah. Oh my.
No, I just feel like this is a choice between.
That's not a prolapse nurse. That's Cardi B's lips.
Okay, I just feel like this is a choice between, say, I don't know, boiled fish and tofu. Okay, Matt? If you guys know, you know, all right?
Yeah. Yeah, that does not sound like a good time at all. Jeez.
Yeah,
Louise.
Neither option is very palatable, is it?
Hey, man, what are you going to do for lunch tomorrow? I don't know. I was thinking about boiling some fish. I'm like, gee, you might go to jail for being a serial life taker if you eat boiled fish. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there. With that, how about we just go ahead and kick this bad boy off and we jump into this week's headlines. Dun, 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 dun.
Nothing to fear here. This is just the news.
We have lawsuits. The litigators are getting their hands on this, and not just any litigators. We have eternal. Basically, not much difference. Eternal attorney generals. We have here Attorney General Dana Nessel. Dana here has filed the lawsuit against a paper company for allegedly discharging PFAS contaminated wastewater in St. Joseph County. The lawsuit was filed in Ingham County Circuit Court against Ox Paperboard WP LLC and White Pigeon Mills LLC, which is collectively Ox Paperboard. It alleges that Ox Paperboard's unauthorized wastewater discharges resulted in the release of hazardous substances in a White Pigeon River and surrounding area, including PFAS. It is unacceptable for companies like Ox Paperboard to pollute Michigan's precious water and put health and safety of Michigan families at risk. Since opening White Pigeon Mill in St. Joseph County in June of 2020, Ox Paperboard has been issued 7 violation notices by EGLE for improperly discharging PFAS-contaminated wastewater. Additionally, the lawsuit alleges Ox Paperboard failed to properly disclose wastewater lagoons on the mill property. Nessel's lawsuit seeks proper closure of the wastewater lagoons and an end to Ox Paperboard's unauthorized discharges into waters of the state and civil fines, according to officials. News Channel 3 reached out to the parent company of Ox Paperboard, who did not respond at the time of this article was published. Look, I'm not going to lie here, guys. If you have been charged 7 times with violations for improperly discharging PFAS contaminated water, there is something going on here that is not okay. This company does paperboard products, paper tubing, cores, and protective packaging. A lot of times, PFAS, polyfluorinated alkyl substances, also known as forever chemicals, when you're in the news space. What they're talking about there is waterproofing, right? And it's primarily used as waterproofing. So, probably coating like vinyl labels, any of the waterproof cardboard products you see, any kind of food, uh, uh, microwavable paper plates, and all that waterproof paper plates and all that shit. Even if it says biodegradable, okay, that doesn't mean that it has not been coated in PFAS to resist. I don't know, using a paper bowl and being able to put soup in it, and it doesn't spill your soup by the time you finish eating your soup, right? So, but I would like, I have not had time to do this. I would like to go through and take a look at the previous 7 violations. I'm curious, have they had 7 violations? And this is what's terrible, is that now we have to question what exactly the news means. And we did this when we covered just an absolute abysmal lie from Scientific American a couple weeks ago. Here, they're stating that they've been issued 7 violations for discharging PFAS contaminated wastewater. Are you sure it's PFAS contaminated wastewater, or are you just drawing conclusions because they've had 7 violations for for improperly discharging wastewater, and they're making an assumption? The journalist is making an assumption that they all contain PFAS contamination. I don't know, and to be honest, I would really prefer to go through this and see exactly what the contaminants are in that water for them to be able to make this claim. Chances are, is it? Yeah, but is the reality that it come straight from this paper company? I don't know. There's a lot to go here. Obviously, this will go to litigation, and so the hope is that this won't be put under lock and key, and we won't be able to see the results of it. But again, a company of this stature, I'm sure they're going to be pretty public with what it is. And if the attorney general is getting involved in filing lawsuits of this, they definitely want to wear this as a feather in their cap to say, "Hey, I care about you, the voter. Remember me. I act in the best regard of my constituents, and so." Vote for me. Remember me. If I recall correctly, Attorney General is an elected position. I may be just absolutely wrong in that, but I think I'm right. But I've also thought I'm right about a lot of shit, and I'm not. So I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt. Point being, I kind of want to see how where some of the data these journalists are compiling, and have a little bit more insight into what's going on. I I don't know, guys, because we're coming right out of that one. Okay, so we have that in St. Joseph County, so that's Michigan. Now here we have Cadillac, which is also Michigan. Unsafe levels of PFAS are being found in blood. Here we've spoke to Up North Live first spoke to JT Anderson in September. The last time we saw him, Anderson discovered there was a high level of PFAS in his drinking water. He's now connected to the city's water system, and he's noticed some changes. All of our dishes look better. We feel much better about our drinking water. Our dogs even love it better. Our dogs drink probably twice as much water as they used to. However, our blood came back about 25% worse than normal with elevated levels of PFAS. The amount of PFAS in his bloodstream is on the test that he took is measured on a scale from 1 to 20. He's at 5.33, which puts him at a risk of health issues for the amount that's detected in his blood. So if he's up 25% and you're at 5.33, and so normal is going to be somewhere around like maybe the upper level of normal is going to be 4. And so now he's at 5.33, somewhere around there. And so anyway, it's been in this water system long enough. It's affected our blood and our health. We're not the healthiest people, and I don't think it's got any help to it. and again, he's already saying, like, I'm not healthy. The PFAS definitely pushed me over the edge with my health issues. That we can all take with a grain of salt, right? And just say, is it the PFAS that pushes health issues over, or is it lifestyle? Is there a lot of comorbidities? Is there underlying issues? And so, we could just go ahead and disregard that as, opinion. It is non-factual. We don't need to lean on that for anything. But what we do have here is that we have blood tests that are showing that we have elevated levels of PFAS in the blood. And the only difference is that now he's connected to city water. Here we have the Attorney General of Michigan filing lawsuits against a paper company. The, it's I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you, it's coming one way or another. And again, I'll get into this with the election information coming up shortly. It doesn't matter who you vote for; it's coming in one form or another. And just boy, oh boy, get ready, because one side is going to stand on it and say, I care about you, and the other side is going to stand on it and say, I care about you. And the truth of it is that it's all a fucking lie. I want to get that out of the way. It's all a fucking lie. There's no reality in it. And so hopefully that we've done enough to educate you to be able to ask more questions and to be a little bit ahead of the curve, that when you start hearing bullshit being spewed out there, you can be a little bit more in tune as to what's going on. Guys, I'm not going to lie. When I was putting these, I just, chose these two articles. The first that showed up in my feed. I did a quick little search of PFAS in my Google News feed. It is lit up like a Christmas tree. It's everywhere. I've got articles from Trick or Treat candy wrappers. Hershey's is being sued for their candy wrappers. We've got lawsuits over firefighting foams in Indiana. We are trying to predict groundwater PFAS rates at various supply depths across the United States. It's been found in game meat in high level, and they're warning against eating game meat, so deer and wild turkey. We have the Air Force is concerned about this now. Guys, like, it's here. It's here.
I don't like to go anywhere either. I mean, it's only, I don't know. The question that I have about all of it is, uh, what will it take, right? This turn into some type of like, I don't uh, like the gun debate, right? Like, was Sandy Hook enough to make him take the guns away? And I'm not here to talk about guns, but like, at what point do you think people are going to be like, hey, we need to pause all this and have a bit of a deeper discussion about just how fucked we really are with this? I mean, is there going to be some watershed moment that this takes place, or are we just going to kind of start, death by a thousand cuts? What do you think, Ray?
Well, what is concerning to me, Ryan and Matt, is that I want to see more actual toxicity data. That's what I want to see, because it's one thing for people to be up in arms about so many parts per million of PFAS, but
Parts per,
I want to
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I want to know for myself. Okay, at what point does this become bad for us, and at what point in the various levels of exposure do we start to see harmful effects? And I believe this has to be an apolitical and
Ha!
objectively scientific,
Ugh.
discussion and session of discovery. I mean, it has to be completely apolitical,
Ha!
because yeah, I know, Matt. I mean, but then the odds of this happening are not likely, because even for myself, Matt, you left out one more state that has a PFAS issue. Okay, you left out one more state, Hawaii.
I don't think there's any state that is not dealing with the PFAS issue. Right? I think it's literally all 50 states, including Alaska.
However, the what makes this more of a political football here is that all of the sources of PFAS contamination are related to the federal government here in Hawaii, the U.S. military, and their stockpiling of aqueous aircraft firefighting foam, specifically that substance, and
Yikes.
yeah, and it's just so controversial because, of course, to add to this controversy are people that think that the United States government has overstayed its welcome in Hawaii. I mean,
Yeah,
that adds
it's
to it.
yeah, without a doubt. And we've been waiting for 2 years now on revisions from the EPA with new guidelines and guidance information.
Mhm.
And, supposedly they have the data, but why it hasn't come out, who knows? I'd say the PowerPoint presentation they put together has like the wrong font or something. And so, it takes 27,000 employees to edit a PowerPoint for the federal government. So, who knows when it'll be released. But again, I just want to throw that out there. If anybody wants to type, PFAS into your Google News feed and just take a look at what's going on all around, and yeah, look for good news in it. And unfortunately, right now there is no good news in it. Even from the health related standpoint, I'm just seeing more and more about studies coming in related to health things, right? So cancer links, kidney function, gut health, which again that is going to require some seriously strong parsing through to make sense of all of it, because you can make all kinds of links in the world, and correlation doesn't equal causation. So there's the work on trying to understand exactly what's being presented to us is just beginning. Oddly, in the midst of all this going on, our Biosolids fans just had a big win in Canada, of all places, and I have a feeling
yeah.
that this is going to be undone quite quickly.
Mm.
LaSalle Agra has been trying to build a facility since 2018 for the storage of 110,000 cubic meters of biosolids. And it has been held up in court and all kinds of crazy shit. So for 6 years now, they've been trying to store this. And finally, they got it done. They got it done, and they are going to be able to store it. They've got a special kind of containment device that they're going to be using for this. And so anyway, it's going to be fully enclosed, permanent roof, 4 walls, so it's completely contained, and it's got tarps and all kinds of stuff to go along with it. So anyway, they got this, but boy, oh boy, I got a feeling, especially especially now, they're going to go back through it. They're going to be like, hey, let's see what's going on with the PFAS content, and if this gets undone, I will not be surprised. Real quick, gonna show some love for a buddy of mine here in Knoxville. I love the entrepreneurship. He said, you know what, Matt, and I remember he contacted me. I guess this is like 6 or 7 months ago. We went over to his house. We were drinking some bourbons and having a good time. I was drinking the Penelope. We had the toasted, and then I think it was called Architect or something by Penelope, and it was absolutely delicious. And he was telling me he was going to do this, and he was asking if I knew a company that did toll manufacturing of canned liquids, and so he did. He released it. We have this is going to be available for store purchase here if you're in Knoxville. Check it out. Chillax. We have uh CBD. These are the alcohol alternatives that you want to catch a buzz, but you don't want to drink alcohol. So the alcohol is not your thing. Like, I'll tell everyone right now, cannabis is not my thing at all. I don't do it. I don't touch it. I'm one of the few probably people in the entire United States of America that does not touch anything related to cannabis at all, ever. But I know there's a lot of people out there that absolutely love it. It changes their life. It keeps them from drinking alcohol, and it's how they take their edge off when they get home in the afternoon. Me personally, that's not what I do. But hey, if that's you, by all means, all power to you. And here, you can go to the store now and buy it. You can pick it up. So if you're in and around the Knoxville area, check it out. Or you can check out his website here. You can go to nixnugs.us, and he's got all kinds of fun little snacky snacks here. You like your Delta 9 gummy, not Delta 8. These are going to be Delta 9. So, if you want the real deal, you want to get a little squared away and sideways and all that fun stuff. Here you are, nixnugs.us. Show some love to my boy Sod, who's out there going hard in the paint. And if you really want to make this deal happen, look, you can save 10% right there. Use code NEW10. Thanks, Sod. Love you, brother. With that, everybody's favorite, without a doubt, all the feedback we get is we need Joe Knows Turf times 10. So let's check out this week's Joe Knows Turf.
Joe Knows Turf. Hi, I'm Joe.
Joey.
I'm gonna give you a bunch of accurate turf facts today because Joe Knows Turf.
What do we got on the menu today?
Oh well, if Elvis is the king, then Alan Hayne is the prince. I don't know what the or if
It works.
yeah, if Lexington Steel is the bull, then Alan. Oh, never mind. So
Ooh.
ooh, there should have been a sounder there. I wasn't sure which one to pick. I'm sorry.
right.
I should. All right. So
So I don't know
this
what
week
it's saying.
Well,
Go back in the kitchen,
when
bitch.
I was gonna say, when God speaks, it's usually a disciple that's answering. So there you have it,
Extremely
right
long, hard.
there. Sometimes I forget about all the
Picking random
sounders.
ones.
Yeah. Just hit me with one more. Just one maybe that we haven't heard in a while.
Pussy.
Remember like 6 shows ago where we were trying not to cuss anymore, and we were all worried.
It's just too hard.
No.
It's too hard.
Not
Can't
worth
do it.
All right. So forgive us for being 13 years old again, but we do have to finish this, just like back in the day. And in this particular case, we've got to see if we can finish this video from Alan Hayne. I believe this is from like Instagram or something. It was shared with me early.
Somewhere I'm blocked. Shocker.
Oh, and also, yeah, go ahead. Let's go ahead and we'll play that video real quick here, JP.
Hey, I'm over here by the Florida Thames St. Augustine over by there, getting ready for Halloween domination. Look at this color. I don't even think the Samsung is going to be able to do it justice, but man, oh man. Now, the secret is it's overgrown. I've been letting this grow for 3 weeks. Shorter days, cooler temps, it's overgrown, but not that bad. But the secret to letting it get overgrown, followed up by Halloween domination. You see, the secret is to let it grow out, because then it grabs all the sunlight, right? Shorter days, so we don't have as much sunlight available. You let it get overgrown, that's more leaf tissue, more leaf surface over by there to soak in that little bit of sun we have, and your lawn gets a whole lot greener. So that's why I've let it be overgrown for the last 3 weeks. Yeah, I'm totally serious. That's the reason. So anyway, just getting things cleaned up around here before Thanksgiving and Halloween. So anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying your Halloween domination. Hey,
It's kind of funny.
I mean,
is he okay? We need to do
in
a
the
welfare
last,
check.
the last 15 seconds.
Bruh, you all right?
Yeah.
When you've made the switch to Tito's and Bush Light, chances are you're not doing real well. I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there. Unless you're busy bees, and it's just a way of life for you. But good Lord, Bush Light and Tito's, woof.
Okay, I made the nastiest joke about Uncle Al doing this to the grass. I mean, I made the worst, most crude and crass joke about him doing that to the St. Augustine.
What was that?
Oh, let's see. It involved a dominatrix and a cuck chair.
Oh, that's
Remember
right. I
that one,
remember that
Ryan?
one. I do now remember that. Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Now, listen here, though. If you listen to what he says, it starts to make sense, right? That, oh, hey, I'm going to create this leaf tissue, this photosynthetic area on the plant so that it gets green because it's taking in more sunlight and everything like that. But then, unexpectedly and certainly unexplained, I'm going to hack it off well below the 1/3
Scalp it
rule
all.
and
Yeah,
then continue to
scalp it all
drift
down.
into
Yeah.
what did we just hit today, guys? Time change, right? Even shorter days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, did you do anything good? And lastly, what the hell is Halloween domination? What is this? Who does this and why? I don't understand.
It's
The only thing I
all
can think is that it takes about a 24 pack of Bush Light and a handle of Tito's, and
Tito's.
boy, it sounds like a great idea.
I'm pretty sure
Then
you
it
have to
starts
go
to me all
search out
makes
at least here in Ohio. You got to search out the 24 packs. Those are rare. You're either getting that in a 12 or 30. You got to go hunting for the
But
24s. Yeah.
but
We don't have 30s here.
here, I always wonder about the logic of grossly overfeeding the grass, grossly overfeeding it, and then scalping it all off. I mean, that just does not make sense to me agronomically because do you know what I'm thinking about with grass at this time of the year? Do you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about carbohydrate reserves,
Exactly. And
especially
what's the
especially
stress
for
response going to be? Go ahead.
well, it depends because here's how it can go. You scalp off now on a warm season grass. That warm season grass is probably going to struggle to make up for what you took away. And here's where it gets funny. Knowing Al, he's going to be throwing down the Milorganite and stress blend and God knows what else, trying to get it to go. And this reminds me of the doctor. No, correction. Make that the airline pilot that you don't want flying the plane because that airline pilot has been sneaking hits of Adderall in the airplane washroom. Okay, not a
Yeah.
good time.
Hey, Captain, can I borrow your hooter there? I gotta finish off this blue.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought the joke with the alcohol there at the end was that I have no idea what I'm talking about.
No. I think it was him saying that, he was pissed drunk on his couch for the last 3 weeks and didn't mow his grass.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's
he was
how I
just
took it.
Gotcha.
yeah, that's how I took it too. Is
Schnooker.
that he's just been like vegged out on his porch,
Come on, Al. That's not
guzzling
good for gains, man. It's not good for
beer,
gains.
beer and vodka and ooh yikes! You know who that reminds me of? Unfortunately, my father. God,
Yeah.
oh my
That's
God.
not a good time.
Ooh, no, it's
Right,
bad.
Well,
Hey,
the moral of the story here is, you can get hammered while you mow your grass. I mean, that's fine, but don't grow your grass up to stay green and then hack it down and then not expect to lose a significant amount of roots while your grass tries to grow back up with the stress response.
Mhm.
That's
Alan, if there's any advice I can give you is there's an old program by a guy named Bill Wilson. You'll hear him call friends Bills. They take like 12 steps and stuff like that, and one of them says it works if you work it. And I think that also applies to grass too. So anyway, let's go ahead and check out this week's. Speaking of burns, give us Freudian.
I'll tell you what.
Sheila commemorating
Sheila
that
has
he had run out of Tito's and Bush Light.
that was actually live audio from Sheila early voting right there.
Speaking of early voting here, okay, just two things I want to cover, and this is basically all I'm gonna say about the election at this point. Is here we're gonna just onecommondreams.org, and this is just absolutely, this is as partisan as it could possibly get, and it's going to go through and say, Trump is bad. He doesn't care about cancer, ADHD, Project 2025, whatever the fuck that is chaos and crazy. RFK and corporate capture. I don't even know what that means, but Trump is going to endanger food safety. He's going to remove Project 2025, which may or may not even be linked to him. And they want to deregulate GMOs, because GMOs are bad. They want to undo the concerns of pesticides, because pesticides are bad. If we go down here, eliminating and gutting the EPA, they're calling to gut the EPA, including eliminating legal and regulatory enforcement and compliance offices, curtailing environmental review and diminishing scientific credentials. And reduce the influence of, they want to weaken the Endangered Species Act and reduce the influence of EPA science on whether pesticides are approved for use, opening the door for many more toxic pesticides that could cause harm to our environment. So obviously this is a very pro-Kamala piece here that is talking about how if you vote for her, she's going to make sure that pesticides are cracked down on, GMOs are cracked down on, and so then you don't have anything to worry about, because she's going to take care of it. And then we'll move on to the next one here. As we all know, I think it made the news pretty heavily here that RFK was going to be given some at least told, he said out loud, that he's going to have some influence over, according to Trump. Trump said, I'm going to let him go wild on health. I believe the phrase is make America healthy again. I'm going to let him go wild on the food. I'm going to let him go wild on the medicines. And one of the big things that is going on here, and let me find it real quick just to make sure. If we go down to where the heading is going to be business leaders and health experts are wary, it says Kennedy has drawn criticisms for a wide variety of questionable claims he's made over the years, including the dangers of pesticides in food additives and vaccines. Kennedy's comments about agriculture and defend the existing risk and science-based regulatory frameworks for pesticides and genetically modified foods. So I just want to point this out here that whoever you choose to vote for, both of them, and I mean this from the absolute bottom of my heart, pose an extreme risk to our industry as a whole. There is no win in this. There's no pro turfgrass. There's no pro agriculture. There's no pro shit in either of these parties or platforms. I know people grew up knowing like the Dems of the past or the Republicans of the past. Neither of these parties are anything even remotely close to it. There's no idea of small government, which personally I'm a big fan of. And I know some people aren't into that, and that's fine. But that's normally what I'm a big fan of. Both of these are about expansive government, increasing government oversight, and one of the things that they both have a giant hard on for is GMOs, pesticides, the things that fertilizers, things that actually make our business. They both fucking hate and would have no issues whatsoever banning it. And you want to talk about some real crazy shit? You start banning GMOs and pesticides, look what happens to the cost of food, and that's when suffering really starts to fucking occur. And boy, we'll be in for a wild one at that point. So anyway, I just want to put that out there that no matter how this shakes out, we're all fucked. This is probably the worst ticket for our industry that could have been put forth altogether. Maybe if RFK hadn't gotten involved, it wouldn't have been so critical. But now that he is, there's going to be a cockswinging competition there to see who could be the most aggressive against policing of health in America, whatever the fuck they deem health to be. I don't trust anything that comes from Kamala Harris related to health. Look at our current sitting assistant secretary of health is just a fucking just disgusting human being. And then I certainly don't trust a guy who fucking cuts up a fucking whale head with a chainsaw for health either. And especially when he goes on these tangents about how we need to ban pesticides and GMOs as if that's going to help. So anyway, just a quick little highlight, positive news there that both of these fucking hate our industry, does not care if it doesn't exist anymore, regardless of the economic impact we have. And chew on fucking that. Take that message to your fucking local regulators and people who actually have a little bit of incentive to see the economic development that you bring to your local area. Take that and shove it fucking knee deep up their ass so much that it pops out of their nostrils, and they have no choice but to fucking think about you for the next week while they can smell your breath in their fucking nose. Outside of that, we talked about this last week. Deputies arrest mail carrier accused of stabbing lawn care worker in Lithia. For those of you that missed it, this dude, lawn care guy, all we saw was a lawn care guy got stabbed by a male guy, and it may or may not have had to do with the way the vehicle was parked on the street. We got a little bit, slightly more information here. He had several stab wounds to his upper torso. Callaway's attorney, Richard Escobar, said the postal carrier acted in self-defense as protected by Florida Stand Your Ground law. At the point when Whitaker was stabbed, he was out of control, meaning the lawn care guy had gone completely out of control. He was an individual that was very dangerous and could have killed or seriously hurt our client. We're sorry someone had to lose their life over this, but that's the purpose of Stand Your Ground law, so you can protect yourself and it doesn't result in your death when someone is attacking you. Escobar said Callaway is frail and weighs about 160 pounds, considerably smaller than Whitaker, who Escobar said is over 6 feet tall and weighed as much as 300 pounds. A Hillsborough traffic ticket Whitaker received in November 2023 listed him as 6'1", and so 6'1", 300. He was definitely a big old boy. That is for sure. Escobar said the case is similar to Curtis Reeves, the retired Tampa police captain acquitted murder in 2014 shooting at Chad Olson in Wesley Chapel movie theater. Escobar mandated a stand your ground defense in that case, in which Reeves claimed that he pulled the handgun and fired because he was afraid the much younger and stronger Olson was about to pummel him. Anyway, he goes on to talk a little bit about that. In social media posts mourning Whitaker's death, friends and loved ones described him as kind, respectful, and a giant teddy bear. Shortly after his death, some began to circulate the hashtag Justice for Jake. They called the stabbing a senseless act of violence. I can't imagine the pain the senseless loss has brought to the victim's family and loved ones. He said, I sincerely hope that the arrest provides to them some peace and closure as they continue to grieve. So here we have a little bit more information. The defense here is coming right out of the gate saying this is self-defense, citing the stand your ground law, that Whitaker absolutely lost his mind, and he's a big guy. And the mail carrier could be 6'6", 160 pounds. They describe him as frail at 160 pounds, which sounds, I don't know, a bit of a fucking stretch. Here we had our own Jesse Bousquet, who competed in a bodybuilding competition, sub 160 pounds and won, who was absolutely fucking diced to the gills. I mean, just looked huge, massive, is massive. I saw him a couple weeks ago, and he's big as a motherfucker. And so 160 pounds is not what I would call frail at all. So anyway, this is going to be really interesting to see how it shakes out in court, and it sounds like it's going to be a lot of he said versus he said, and could shake out interesting on the other end.
Well, here's the problem: is that one of the parties is dead. One of the parties is dead.
Yep,
and you know how they say dead men tell no tales.
They don't.
I mean, this is going to be super interesting, and likewise. You know what? I have seen too many entitled, smart-ass postal workers, okay? I've seen too many of them.
Yes. If y'all didn't catch it, Ray had some very choice words for postal workers in his in the last episode. There said he's had some definitely rough encounters with them. And so you never know. And are we going to get the true story in court? Who knows?
Yeah,
The
because
question will
here's
be: there's cameras
why?
everywhere now.
There's got
I
to. Yeah, I
wonder
was
if
gonna say
there's
there's got to be.
Yeah,
There's
there's
got to be
cameras.
some
There's
audio.
video
cameras.
somewhere.
There's got to be some video or audio of some kind floating around somewhere. Because, and my question is, all right, and I'm going to speak from experience. You know, Matt, as a smaller guy, I always seek to de-escalate. Okay, I always seek to de-escalate, Matt, because I don't want to be that guy that has to, for example, break limbs or break necks. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I don't either.
I
I'm
really,
afraid someone's going to shoot me, so I'm very de-escalatory myself.
well, I'm afraid more on the other hand of it's not
I've been
worth
shot
it
once.
for
I don't want
me
to be shot
to,
again.
you know, it's not worth it for me to go to the pen because I had to escalate a situation to its final conclusion. You know, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, yeah, without a doubt. Me
Because by the
neither.
way, Matt, I'm small and frail too.
That is not true in the slightest. Regardless of how many times you repeat it, we know that to not be true. Here we have U.S. lawmakers that call on the EPA to ban the pesticide linked to Parkinson's disease. Is the headline here? What are they talking about? They are talking about none other than paraquat. And I want to make a point here that why, even to begin with, that we're seeing a slight increase in the usage of paraquat is none other than, guess what? The war on glyphosate. You can equate this maybe, I don't know, does it correlate or is it causative that when you ban one, you see an increase in the other? I don't know. We've
Actually,
been
Matt,
fighting the war
I
on
need to
drugs for a
correct you a
long
little.
time, and I don't
I need
think
to
there's
correct you
really
just a little.
any big issues with
I need,
fucking finding drugs in America right now. Go ahead, Ray.
I think I need to kind of rewind this and give some context. Is in the 1980s and the 1990s, what happened was there was this big move to basically table paraquat in favor of glyphosate with the claim that glyphosate is safer. Okay, but here's what happened in fields. The weed populations became glyphosate resistant due to
Mm-hmm.
rather extensive and what I want to call mindless usage of glyphosate very heavily in weed management programs. So, Matt, you know what's happened in the last 10 years? The growers have been forced to go back to paraquat because glyphosate doesn't work anymore. Okay, that's what has happened is that glyphosate used to work, but then because it was misused, overused, etc., then it stopped being an effective tool for weed control. And so what's left after glyphosate is gone? Well, let's see. I guess you have to go back to paraquat. And this is what happened, in real life.
Yeah, and anyway, again, for those people that don't know, paraquat is very controversial. It's been around for a long time. One of the biggest controversies surrounding it is that in Latin American countries, it's been used as a form of self-deleting for quite a while, and because it has a pretty low LD50 there, and boy, oh boy, what a terrible thing to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, boy, the lawmakers have a hard on for it. I mean, look, if it chemophobia, and I'm not talking about chemotherapy, I'm talking about the fear of chemicals is at an all-time high, and it's not going anywhere. In fact, we are trending worse and worse, and I have no idea where it ends. I can't imagine what people are going to do one day when they find out salt that we eat, whether it's mined or harvested or synthesized, is sodium chloride, and it contains chlorides. And sodium chloride is a derivative
Matt?
of chlorine, and we're ingesting chlorine with every ounce of salt.
This is what I call majoring in the minors. This is what I call it. And let me describe majoring in the minors. Okay, people don't exercise, they don't get enough rest, and they eat trash for food, and then they proceed to blame part per million amounts of, oh my God, I ingested 1 part per million of glyphosate. No, ma'am, that 1 part per million of glyphosate ain't gonna fucking kill you. What's gonna kill you is the fact that you've had 6 donuts and a liter of Coca-Cola today, and that's what you do 5 days a week, lady. That's what's gonna kill you. It ain't gonna be the glyphosate. All right?
JPEG just
Stuff
said
like
there was a
that.
mom that freaked out over finding bits of metal in my kid's cereal. And anyone here who has ever eaten steak, guess what steak contains a fair amount of? That's iron. Iron is a very essential element in what we do day in and day out. In fact, if we didn't have iron, we'd all suffocate and die. It's pretty fantastic. The different things that are affected by I don't know, metal intake. I'm sure a lot of people don't know sodium is a metal as well either. A lot of
sodium's a metal.
again, chemophobia is just absolutely rampant. Again, like we were talking about earlier, this is a non-partisan issue. Both sides of the aisle right now are fucking hand in hand, lockstep. I mean, two brothers hugging it out, saying, "You know what? Chemophobia, baby. Yeah, we got pesticides, we got GMOs, we got sodium chloride, we got paraquat, we got glyphosate, and that is what is killing people. It is certainly not our lifestyle that we spend how many hours a day hunched over at a desk like this."
Yeah.
I'm just the silence was for emphasis is all I was getting at there.
Yeah.
But you know what? The other thing too is that one thing that I can say is that 96% of the United States is convinced that the government can fix this too, which is to me, when I think about election day coming up, is that if people think the federal government is capable of fixing anything, I just want to laugh out loud. But
Matt,
with I've been laughing for a long time now, and I'm
in the
I'm all out of-
position
I'm all
that
out of laughs.
in my 50-something years of life, I've
Ted Cruz
seen
will
what
fix it.
happens when the government tries to fix something, and the last people that I want.
Ray just got
Government just
canceled.
fix
They
Ray
got,
J.
just
they got him.
Ray
got
just
him.
got canceled.
Fucking G's over there, like, hey, you don't point your fucking finger at me, all right? Fucking hear me?
It is every week. No, I mean, you can set a timer to it that if Ray has a pro-governmental take on it, boy, they come and get him. I guess one day they'll figure out how to get around my VPN, and then I'll be wrecked. But at least for now, it's working. Shout out to NordVPN. It's actually working right now. Let's check out this week's returns. I now use Tor for my streams.
I'm back.
And I use the dark web for basic grocery necessities. And Bitcoin. Why not? I want to give a big shout out to Queensland's ambulance service out of Australia. I should not laugh. This is terrible. We have another mowing incident. A man who is 80 years old. Well, here's the one thing I'm going to say is that this 80-year-old man is doing a lot better than the former Kentucky politician because they were able to get him, and he's in serious condition. He is surviving. And what was that, JPEG? I couldn't hear you. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Yeah, he was touched by Jesus Christ because he is A-OK. And shout out to Queensland's ambulance service for bringing him back to life after plummeting 4 meters over an embankment on his property. I would have a feeling that's a hell of a lot further of a fall than the uh, the Kentucky politician that made a fall into his empty swimming pool. And then I thought this one actually was interesting because how weird is it to see this in the news? The National Farmers Union wants Ottawa to bring back a program that says it would help farmers avoid lousy fertilizer alternatives. Do what? Do what? They said, hey, we're facing this issue right now where we have to reduce fertilizer emissions up to 30%, and governments are forcing tons of subsidies to develop all kinds of alternatives, and they're just forcing it into ag. And they said, you know what? Look, man, we're farmers. We don't want to buy snake oil. We don't want to buy snake oil. Why are you letting us be the test vehicle of this instead of testing it before we are able to make our decisions on it? And they're saying, look, we understand that the rules are changing and we want to work the best that we can to figure out how to make this happen. But the reality is that, look, there's a lot of bullshit that's being served our way right now. We can't figure out how to get our way around it. And I totally understand that. I understand where they're coming from. And I think that's interesting that they said, hey, government, we need you to restart this program you had where the federal government tested products claiming to be viable replacements for traditional fertilizers that was active until 2013. Obviously, we've seen what was it the Make America Manufacture Fertilizer Again program in the United States. I think we covered some of the grant awardees here. Every one of them were alternatives. This didn't go towards developing smarter technologies with what we use currently. It was all tailored towards how do we use biologicals, how do we use humic acids, how do we use sea kelps in ag in order to replace fertilizers that we had invested on increasing production of in the United States, which is just absolute bonkers to me. It was like, hey, we're going to bolster American production, but it's going to be under the guise of a Green New Deal because it's got to be, we need bugs that's going to create the fertilizer, not actually manufacture fertilizer. So it was a monumental amount of money that went out for that. So I don't know. We'll see how that shakes out in the US. But here Canada was like, look, we're fucking sick of it, dog. Throw a brother a bone here and give us some data to work off if you're going to be forcing your hand down our throat to make these changes that we concede that we are willing to change, but we need data before we start investing shit tons of money in this, before we go so fucking broke that you have to bail us out again. So shout out to those boys. DeMay, I'm not gonna lie. There's not a lot of times I see something in Canada and I'm like, hey, you know what? That's pretty fucking smart. This might be one of the times I'll concede and say, you know what, Canada, that's pretty damn smart. I like that.
It's basically it's a what did Robin Williams say? It's a shitty one-bedroom apartment over top of a great bar. That's what Canada is. Sorry, Shaylee. Sorry, Shaylee. I was just,
I love you, Mike.
yeah, but no, for real. I'm glad to see some common sense coming across here. Like, hey, you want us to use this stuff, but you ain't giving us a whole lot to go off. And I don't know how, here domestically, those grants that came forth, right? Being able to produce it and everything like that is great, but we have seen in our small slice of the world how much a uneducated buying group can be manipulated by promises that aren't kept or technology that doesn't really meet the needs of what it's being purported to do, or just plain old fucking huckster bullshit, right? So
Yep.
that's the thing that's maybe concerning the most, is that again, a lot of good intentions, uh some scratch behind it, right, to put some money behind it, but hell, we've had 4 or 5 conversations on different things about, adoption and acceptance and reinforcement of new laws, new methods, whatever, whatever, whatever. And that's the barrier, right? It's not just the manufacturing barrier. It's not just, hey, do we have the technology to be able to do this and then produce it at scale? It is also, is there going to be the acceptance of people that use this stuff or need to use this stuff on a day-to-day basis to actually pick it up, put it in their spray tanks and their spreaders or whatever they're going to use to apply it, and actually fucking use it and use it correctly and for the right reasons and in the right places. And that part to me is way more scary than can we make this stuff? Can we develop the technology and can we produce it at scale? I mean, I think we'll solve for all those things, but we're doing nothing. We just had this conversation, I think last week about uh, are we are we producing the next generation of farmers, turf managers, whatever, right? That are going to be able to look at two products and say that is the better choice, right? Economically, it is, and or environmentally, it is. But I'd say right now we're failing. We're failing in that regard. So that's what's got me glass half empty on this one, Matt.
I could not agree more with what exactly you said. Let's check out this week's mailbag.
You've got mail.
Oh, I've got a
What's
mailbag
up?
too. I'm going to read too.
Do
You
you?
had
All right.
you go first.
We got Dave here, who's in the Discord. This is Wrath in the Dave in the
Oh, okay.
in the Discord, brother. He said, "Good evening, gentlemen. Quick release nitrogen is a hell of a drug. What is the optimal nitrogen rate and frequency on Kentucky bluegrass to get maximum color response without adding significant disease pressure? Please touch on spring, summer, and fall regimens. Background: Columbus, Ohio, Mazama, Kentucky bluegrass. Manual reel mowing at 1 3/4 of an inch. Planning to go down to 1 1/4. Irrigating to prevent stress, backpack sprayer, and granular applicator. It's typical go-to ferts or urea and ammonium sulfate. Goals: disease-free grass. 2, consistently dark." The one
Oof.
thing that I'm going to say here is that the simplest thing that you can do is take a look at the growth probability model. You can go to Pace Turf and download the climate appraisal form, plug in your information, and you're going to see what your nutrient demand is going to be through the course of the year, and you can tailor your application rates according to what your utilization is. Now, one thing that you need to keep in your head is that the grass is going to use it, it has to be down, right? So if you see your utilization from May 15th to June 15th is going to be 3/4 of a pound, then you need to make sure it's down before that time that it can be utilized. Now you could break that up into as many applications as you want, and so try to get a little bit more granular with it that way, and you can actually extrapolate the data down to like on a weekly basis, depending on which weather inputs you want to use, to get as granular with the temperature fluctuations as possible using historical weather data. But it will tell you exactly what the demand will be, and then you can tailor replenishment towards that. Now, obviously, it sounds like if you're on the urea and ammonium sulfate train, you have a pretty good grasp that you have sufficient P and K in your soils, and so yeah, all you have to look at is what the nitrogen utilization is, and then adopt a replenishment program there. Outside of that, what do you recommend there, DeMay? Clip volume?
I mean, yeah, if you want to go that deep, yeah, you can go clip ball and kind of forward look and backward look. You're looking at historical trending data of what you're actually seeing with the clipping volume and trying to match that to the weather and the growth rates of what's coming up. Uh, I would say though that the optimal end rate in order to get that right and for it to manifest itself in a good way, right? So to get good results would also be to get your watering dialed in as well, because um, dry grass is not going to be quite as efficient in using nitrogen in the way that it should, and subsequently, if you have wet and waterlogged turf where you're not able to, or you're watering it too much, is going to result in some issues as well. Mainly could be disease issues, could just be overgrowth, right? Not being able to keep up. So, um, it's you said watering to prevent stress, and I think I talked to him on the cords a couple of times about this. just about, be prepared to water. And if we have a summer like we did here in Columbus, which was the driest June, July, and August that we've ever had in
Oh, wow.
124 years of weather keeping or weather record keeping. So it's definitely doable, but I think the watering piece is the one that you got to nail first, and that's where you walk or crawl before you can walk. Start with the watering, then walk with the nitrogen. So
There we go.
all right,
uh,
I'm glad that
go
Ray's
ahead.
back
Sorry,
for
I
this
forgot
one.
you have one too.
All right. This is a question that came to me, and I don't have again, my brain is mashed potatoes these days pretty much every day. And so it says, if you could have input on the design of a fertilizer spreader, it's being designed for pros and trying to keep it at the 50-pound mark, what would your input be? Or how could you improve something that like a
Can
Lesco
you
or a
repeat
Scott?
that one more time? Just
Okay.
the equation part.
If okay, so if you have input on the design of a fertilizer spreader that's being designed for pros and trying to keep it at the 50-pound mark, what would your input be? How could you improve on something like Lesco or Scott's or Anderson? I think it's Anderson's that makes now. Some more details about it. It's a battery powered self propelled unit, um, and not like the big giant bolt on one like Lesco has. There's like aftermarket one that they have right now. Shooting for about 90 minutes of battery runtime, keeping the unit at least at no more than 50 pounds, like for the actual dry weight of the spreader. Um, yeah. So, what other feedback would you guys have of something that would be kind of a self-propelled spreader for pros, but it's, I think they're trying to keep the 50-pound weight so that overall it doesn't weigh more than
Wow.
100 pounds. I think it'd
Wow.
be
The
kind
only
of a
thing,
Pretty
cool
harsh.
thing, but I'm just trying to like dial into my head of what would be meaningful to an applicator that's walking the thing around.
so the only thing that comes to my head is if it is battery powered, if you could have a variable control over the impeller speed. And if you do make a control over the impeller speed, that it affects, so the impeller speed is calibrated to the forward speed of the spreader, and then if you could tie the forward speed of the spreader to also the open and close amount of the holes, and so all that stays in lockstep. So say you set, whatever it is, 3.7 pounds per thousand, then it adjusts your impeller speed to your hole opening to the forward speed of the spreader. How to do that, I have no fucking idea. But look, from a mechanic standpoint, I have 0.0 issues with the Lesco spreader as it stands. I've always enjoyed it. I thought they were easy to work on. I've never, you know, I mean, in all honesty, has anyone ever had to throw away a Lesco spreader, or has it all
No,
been
it's
fixable with either
totally repelled.
Bondo or some pins or whatever the case? I mean, it's just like they're just they
Yeah.
just last
It's
last a
it's
lifetime. I
unki-
mean, I've
yeah,
never had
it's
an issue with one.
unkillable. It's essentially unkillable. And
Hmm.
on the other hand, what you described, Matt, with that interface between travel speed, gate opening, and impeller speed, that now we're talking about some pretty involved electronics. Okay, some extremely involved
Servos and all kinds
electronic.
of shit. Yeah.
Yeah, servos and feedback mechanisms to a processor. I mean, what are we
I'd say a
talking about?
MOSFET
Because
could handle that. Nothing crazy.
yeah, the MOSFET will deal. MOSFET and Arduino, yes,
Yeah.
that'll deal. Okay, but to keep that or make that industry standard reliable, Matt, now we're talking about a spreader that might cost, say, $10,000 or $5,000,
Yeah, I think the variable rate thing would be
and
cool, but
but
it would
yeah,
be
but costly because as is, guys, I already have a $700 or $800 fertilizer spreader. I already have
You know
one.
what? Oh, I'll
Yeah.
tell you what they need. I'll tell you what they need. We used to do this. There's a guy I worked with long shit. This is 20 years ago, and he would put a metronome on his when we would walk greens and tees. So you would hit your like
Wow.
you would hit your speed perfect every time. And it's
That
just
is
like
smart.
it's like playing with the click track, when you're playing in a live band and
Uh-huh.
shit. Yeah, so that was the old what was it, like Dr. Beat. They used to use them for, bands and all that kind of shit. Was a little handheld deal. And we just zip tie it to the thing and you'd hear dit, 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 dit,
Click,
and that'd be
click,
like
click, click.
you
Yep.
could set it
That's
in
fucking
half.
badass.
You could do it in halftime. You could press the halftime button and it would just be your left foot every time your left foot hit. And man, we'd come out within like a couple of pounds on a green zap over 3 acres. It'd be nuts. So there you go. That's my idea right there. Dave Wheeler,
I think
I love you, man.
yeah, I can't. But again, I'm not a mechanics person. So, look, I can turn a wrench, but when it comes to like designing mechanics, I'm not a mechanical engineer by any means.
If you need to cut a finger off for 50 thou, though, he's got the direction.
That if you want to remove 3 fingers from a rotary valve, boy, I can teach you how to do that real fast. So,
Well, I was gonna say,
just put it on the shaker table when you're done.
you meet the right
Thanks.
person in life. You can either take off one finger for $50,000, or you can stick them all in and let her keep it all.
For 50.
All the money.
Yikes.
She gets to keep all the money. All the money.
All right, we are going to go hang out with our patrons. Let them choose the title of this week's video. We will see we will see everyone after the election hoopla, and I'm sure there will be lots of shit talking and fun that goes on with that. So we'll see how it shakes out. Other than this, y'all have a great night. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.